Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Southern Oregon Weather Weekend Update. We'll look at our weekend snow totals first and see if those matched our forecast from a few days ago. Then we'll also discuss our short-term outlook. Can we expect this showery and cool pattern to continue for the next few days? Finally, we'll conclude by looking at our long-range model trends. So first, at the top here is the SNOTEL data from Big Red Mountain, which is between Mount Ashland and the Josephine County line. So it looks like over the past 2 days, Big Red Mountain has recorded a 4-inch increase in snow depth. And it looks like about 0.4 inches of liquid precipitation fell as well. So that looks like about a 10-to-1 snow-to-water ratio. However, given the colder temperatures, I would expect the snow to be a little bit fluffier than these numbers would indicate. So maybe 5 or 6 inches fell and there was a little bit of settling. That's what I would guess. Same story at Crater Lake. Annie Springs is the SNOTEL site closest to Crater Lake. Looks like 2 days ago they recorded a snow depth of 59 inches, and the latest snow depth reading, which isn't shown here, it was taken a few hours ago, is for 68 inches. So again, a 9-inch increase in snow depth with about 0.9 inches of liquid. I'm guessing, again, that since temperatures were colder, the snow was fluffier. Probably, 10 or 11 inches fell, and it settled to 9 inches. So that's really what our forecast was calling for. Around 6 inches for the Siskiyous, and then around 8 to 10 inches for the Southern Oregon Cascades. And I expect that both areas could pick up maybe a couple more inches today, maybe even on Tuesday, depending on if this storm system lingers over our area. The story with these showers, though, is that they've been pretty hit or miss. In areas where heavier bands of rain or snow set up, there was definitely more snow, but other areas were left pretty dry. And that's often the case with these springtime storms that are showery in nature. It's difficult to predict snowfall amounts, but overall, I think our forecast was pretty on track. So here's a look at the current road conditions around the area. Dead Indian Memorial Road. Some snow showers, snow starting to accumulate on the road, but roads generally staying somewhat wet, and that's because of the higher sun angle now that it's March, and also when the snow does peak out, it warms the road surfaces pretty quickly, and so that leads to some melting. However, under heavier showers like we're seeing at Lake of the Woods, some of that snow is starting to stick to the roads, and even into the afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised if a heavier burst of rain or snow moves through. I would expect that some of these roads can become snow-covered at times. But once again, where that snow does peak out, that'll lead to generally just wet road conditions. So here's a look at the KMAX radar on top of Mount Ashland. Over on the left, we see the radar returns. Some showers lingering in the Mount Shasta area, actually locally heavy precipitation around Mount Shasta, and then extending into the Siskiyous, and then the Southern Oregon Cascades as well. Over the past day, we really had a band of precipitation set up here on the county line, and so I would expect Grayback Mountain received maybe the higher end of our snowfall forecast. Probably more than 6 inches fell there, although there's no SNOTEL site directly there, so it's difficult to say. And certainly the Mount Shasta area is seeing some heavier snow this morning. Here on the right-hand side, we see the velocity. So green colors indicate that is precipitation or clouds coming toward the radar array here on Mount Ashland, and the red colors indicate that it's moving away. So we're seeing the southeasterly flow, and that should continue to favor, once again, the Mount Shasta area and somewhat the Siskiyous as well. So this is the high-resolution rapid refresh model. It's one of the high-res models that I like because, in my opinion, it doesn't tend to overdo snowfall amounts as much as some of the other models. And we see over the next 18 hours that the showers continue for southwest Oregon, and especially toward the end of the forecast period for the east side. So here, 18 hours out, it looks like we're going to start to see some wraparound precipitation from the east, and it'll just depend on whether those showers can make it over the Cascade Crest into the western valleys, but we'll have to see how that pans out. This is the GFS, the American model. I put together a loop of the next 10 days because it looks like our cool and showery pattern is going to continue. Here are the showers we're seeing now, and then we see another system move in from the northwest, actually a couple of systems, almost a train, a parade of storms moving in. But I think they're going to be similar to the system that we just saw in that there'll be showers and cooler weather, and it'll be somewhat difficult to predict where those showers set up. In heavier bands, there'll be more rain or snow, but then other areas just 5 or 10 miles away from those bands will see a lot less. But the story for the next 10 days is that in general our cooler and wetter pattern is going to continue. Here's the GEFS ensemble. Once again, it blends 51 different model runs together to give you an average picture of what's going to happen. Here, a week from today, we see blue colors still over the west coast. That means troughing, showers, and cooler weather. And then, by day 10, those blue colors haven't moved very much. If anything, the trend over the last 48 hours has been for this troughing to deepen over the north-central part of the United States, so the northern plains and the Rockies. But there really hasn't been a weakening trend along the west coast. So I think it's a pretty fair bet that we could continue to see cooler and wetter weather over the next 10 days. And I think that's because the models are picking up on the evolution of the Madden-Julian oscillation. Here's the forecast from the American ensemble and then from the European model as well. And both of these forecasts agree that we start out in phase 6, which is contributing to the cool and wet conditions we're seeing now. And then we move into phases 1, 2, and 3. And phases 2 and 3 especially are cooler and wetter phases for the west coast in March. So here's a look at the temperature correlations with phases 2 and 3 on the MJO. Blue colors mean cooler than average, especially for California and Southwest Oregon. Here, the precipitation correlations tell us that phase 2 is maybe a little bit wetter than average for the east side, but phase 3 is wetter than average for almost the entire west coast. So that means that these cooler and wetter conditions are probably here to stay for a while. The PNA, the Pacific North American Index, tells us exactly the same story. It's strongly negative for the next 2 weeks. That's a good bet that storms could continue to move into southern Oregon. So to recap, our snowfall totals are generally on track to meet the forecast we made from a few days ago. 6+ inches in the Siskiyous, 8 to 10 inches in the southern Oregon Cascades, and it looks like some showers could continue through Tuesday. In fact, cooler and wetter weather may continue right into the next week to 10 days. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a repeat of the system that we just saw in about a week. And those long-range teleconnections, that negative PNA and those MJO phases continue to favor cooler and wetter weather for the end of the month. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to set your notifications for that midweek update in a few days. Please leave a like, it helps a lot. Share this video with your friends and consider subscribing to the channel.